So hot take. So I have a hot take for you. My hot take? Well, I think some artists need to put a little more energy in their live set. Overly complicated tracks are things that kind of ruin a track for me. Don't stick to any kind of genre label.
Future bass is the worst music genre ever created.
Barber Beats was the original vaporwave. Fuck General MIDI Choir. It's all bad.
Bruh.
Worst album artwork I've ever seen is Green Day's Father of All Motherfuckers, probably.
I find new music often, and I usually illegally download it.
Stuff that sounds good. Sample is vaporwave. It's still vaporwave, buddy.
MIDI wave is a form of vaporwave. Deal with it.
Gen Z is the future of vaporwave. I said it. What is your musical guilty pleasure, Vapebearer?
It's gotta be K-pop.
If you don't like mint chocolate chip ice cream, you are a baby.
Music isn't real.
I smell weed. I'm Dan Mason. This is Vapebearer.
This is FM Skyline.
This is Mesh.
Yo, this is Groovy Kaiju. This is Christ. You're listening to
Hot Takes.
That's the one.
Don't touch my records. Ever.
Welcome to Hot Takes, everybody. It is I, young Shiro, and my good buddy Skeleton Lipstick.
Hello, hello.
Very nice to see all you guys here in chat. We've got a lot of first-time viewers and a lot of regulars, and we want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Obviously, we've got a very special guest who needs no introduction, Mr. George Clanton, otherwise known as Ace-Free Fantasy, otherwise known as Mirror Kisses, is joining us tonight for a very special last-minute broadcast where we will be discussing a handful of things with Mr. George. Since we got a lot of new viewers, I want to just take a moment to thank my mods for keeping everybody in line. Everybody is willing and welcome to speak their mind. Just keep it clean, no hate speech, that sort of thing. We want to thank everybody who is helps us with the show tonight, and we want to, of course, let everybody know about the commands that y'all can use during the show, which we'll get started with momentarily. Anytime you want to pull up the link tree for the show, hit !follow, !Skelly, and !Shiro. Bring up our individual link trees if you want to follow us. !Spotify brings up our Spotify playlist if you want to follow and see what we're listening to and what our guests have created. Of course, if you want to jump in our public community Discord server, !Discord brings that up. And !Donate if you feel led and you feel like you enjoy the content that we create. All donations are totally optional, but go towards commissioning our friends, improving equipment, and, of course, the costs that are associated with a podcast. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but, of course, please keep us in line. If anything's too loud or too quiet, we appreciate your feedback. And one very important thing, all questions will be held until we are ready to ask them. So we're going to hear from our very, very special guest tonight momentarily, and when he is ready to take questions, we'll be taking note of your questions tonight. So no punching down. Punching up is fine. No punching down. And keep it kind, please. With that said, I'd like to go ahead and introduce everybody to Mr. George Clanton, who virtually needs no introduction. Go ahead and unmute yourself, buddy.
I'm unmuted.
You are on camera.
Muted.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. How you doing, old friend?
Incredibly happy to have you here.
I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
So what's on your mind? What's going on?
Well, this is the same thing that is on many people's minds. I'm just, I'm struggling through this ElectroniCON situation. And, we were finally able to make our statement yesterday, and I just knew that wasn't going to be nearly enough. I've seen 1,000 different questions on Twitter and Reddit and Instagram, and most of them fall into a few different categories. It's mostly kind of the same thing over and over again, but my original statement was like 1,500 words, stream of consciousness that I wrote at 5 a.m., and I needed to slim that down to get the, you know, a readable message out. But this doesn't have to be readable. We can, you know, see what people are want to be with, and you know, we can go from there. I think, you know, to set it up, it's like there's a lot of people who aren't going to, you know, this isn't, I guess this isn't to get people to like me again, but more just to sort of tell the truth of the matter. I mean, like, obviously I thought that booking John Mouse was a good idea. Like, there's no denying that. We
do you want to just take us through the process of the decision to book John Mouse?
Okay,
It's a good idea.
so that's the starting point then.
Yeah.
So, well, you know, why would you book John Mouse? I mean, there's, you know, some people are wondering, why would you even, you know, select him? Like, what's the point of selecting him? And I think that if you don't understand why, you know, you would want to put John Mouse's music on the event, then, you know, I think that it would just look like, oh, you're just putting him on there because he's an edgelord or whatever, which, you know, I didn't even perceive him to be an edgelord at this time. And, you know, I thought John Mouse is a good addition to the, you know, to the show because, you know, I think I'm just gonna, you know, say, I just have to say like the same thing that we talked about just a minute ago before we went live. Like,
Yeah.
So I kind of already answered this question. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't answer it yet. And it's just like, well, you know, from my perspective, you know, I'm 35 years old. John Mouse, you know, is like just an earlier dot on the same timeline that Vaporwave is. So when John Mouse's peak
Very
is
true.
sort of coming here and going down, Vaporwave is coming up, and you know, like this type of John Mousey kind of sound, you know, this kind of like lo-fi, like 80s, like almost like a chill wave thing. Like, he's definitely, you know, not chill wave, but neither am I, and people call me that, but it just kind of falls into this era, like this like,
He was a big part of this this hypnagogic
pop for sure.
you know, sound that was very influential on the early Vaporwave. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I mean, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of us listen to him.
It's damn near proto vapor.
But people don't, you know, people still don't, you know, get that or accept that, and that's okay. But like, you know, like the people who are, the way that I discovered Vaporwave was right, you know, right there at the very beginning as it's happening, and it's happening on little blogs like Tiny Mixtapes and shit on Tumblr that doesn't exist, and portals and like little websites this. Like, portals. There was a time where there was like Chill Mega Chill. You know, there was a time where there were like
that was the record
the
label,
Chiller,
Mega Chill, absolutely. Yeah, the Chiller would be the Halloween edition they would release every year. Yeah,
I still have that on cassette.
Unreal.
So, you know, like all of these, at that time, people discovered music through these little blogs, and the same people who were sharing, you know, Vaporwave, it was sharing John Mouse. It's the same kind of like outsider way of thinking. It's the same reason that we would have put Neon Indian and Washed Out on last year's show, you know? So, well, then why not put...
Absolutely. So I think that it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense saying that you put artists on that are not necessarily Vaporwave, but are related tangentially to Vaporwave or have been influential on Vaporwave. And if we're considering Vaporwave to be a paradigm that includes many different ideas and sounds and things that blend together, it makes sense to put this in as something that pins it all together. But I guess the big question is, you know, how aware were you of some of the controversy surrounding him?
Okay, so that's the important question, but I hope that we can come back. There's so much to say about the previous thing, and I know that's
definitely
not
come
what
back
people
to
want
it.
Hear about it. Yeah, let's come
back.
We
can definitely come back to it, but I think you want to let's talk about this.
So basically, yes, I was completely aware of the January 6th thing. So when this happened, because we had just kind of sort of recently had Ariel Pink on our Big Stream live stream.
I remember that.
If you want to go back to that and watch that, it's a fucking train wreck in slow motion.
Really
It was pretty wild.
But you know,
Oh.
there's another freak that I'm like, I obviously love Ariel Pink's music.
Me too.
From back in
and
the day, yeah.
after that, I sort of, he came on the stream and pretended like, if you haven't seen it, like he came on the stream and he pretended that he didn't know who we were, and maybe he didn't. He seemed like really strung out, and he had known who we were before, and showed up to the house to do the filming, and so anyway, that had I don't know, I can't look at the timeline, but it seemed like that had like kind of happened pretty fucking recently. So we're watching as this January 6th thing is going down, and it's like, holy shit, Ariel Pink and John Mouse are all in the news right now for being at this January 6th thing. That makes a lot of sense, but that sucks for John Mouse. Like, what, I think no one was surprised that Ariel Pink was there, that everyone kind of felt like, and I've met John Mouse, and just felt like, oh, well, I've met Ariel Pink and I've met John Mouse. I think Ariel Pink's an asshole in real life. I think John Mouse is like the sweetest guy in real life. I played a show with him. I've been to his concerts with him, So I think, oh, this guy, he's a really nice guy. What's he doing with this guy? And so at that time, there was a lot of discourse about it. Like on Reddit, there was a lot of people who were upset. I remember seeing things just exactly the way that I felt about it. Like, no, like Ariel, that makes sense, but John, no, not John too.
Yeah, I think the thing is that I think that the issue might be that you're just too close to it. That John Mouse personally, you can see it. You're right there. You might have talked to him before. You get that. Like, you understand that, but other people outside don't. And some of those.
Well, and there's a good reason for that. But because so you can go and you can look at the articles, and I've been recently reviewing them, obviously, looking back at what comes up when you look up John Mouse, and it's pretty damning. And I think a lot of stuff has come out also since then, insofar as like, well, let me try to compartmentalize this, because I still haven't kind of answered the question yet. So just to take it linearly through the thought process. So at that time, I had seen where the director, like Ariel was there for the director, and Alex Lee Moyer, who was making a film. At that time, you didn't know what the film was, but you knew that they were there to work with her on this new film. At the time, she had released a film, I think it was called Incel or something like that. Like, it was something about incel culture. It was a documentary about incel culture, and that's what she was like known for.
TFW, like No Girlfriend.
There you go. Yeah, so I haven't seen it. I really don't know anything about her. But at the time, I say, oh, they're with some film director, and she's like taking them down there. So she had said, yeah, I'm making this movie, and I had Ariel come out to see me, and John was along for the ride. And she literally says, I get the sense that John was just along for the ride and went down there for a little bit of freak tourism, which, if I wasn't afraid of everyone and everything, I could see myself going down there for a little bit of freak tourism.
It was like a moment in history.
A moment in history, like an all gas no brake situation. Like,
whether good or bad, it was a moment in history.
Like, what the fuck is going on down here? But like, I wouldn't fly out to I wouldn't fly out to Washington D.C. to see this bullshit. So, but there I am trying to even think the best about Ariel and being like, maybe they're like working on a soundtrack or something. Yeah. And like she like wanted to go down there, and then they didn't know what was going to happen, and just trying to like rationalize it. But at the end, after that, Ariel goes on fucking Fox News. Ariel starts saying, all this stuff about.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
They
is,
diverge
it's
for sure.
ridiculous. Like the idea of like even like them trying to think of this as freak tourism is really kind of like it's insulting. You know what I mean? That they would think of it like that too. But
Well, John Mouse, is a freak. And so
yeah,
I don't want to think about, if you just read anything that he has said or look at any of his interviews, it's just like it's hard to even wrap your head around what's going on in his mind, and it shows in his very unique music. So you can't, he doesn't do himself a really good job of sort of playing PR and like separating himself from Ariel. I feel like Ariel's been sort of like his mouthpiece, number one. Like Ariel is like been doing a lot of speaking on his behalf. He goes on TV and he goes, "Oh, John Mouse is a Trump supporter, 110%." But
Wild.
John Mouse isn't saying anything. And I think, that's a disservice to him, but it doesn't really, and this doesn't really answer the question. I'm just sort of getting off on a tangent a little bit. Like, I guess I should say,
I think what it
here's
sounds.
how it happened.
Yeah,
Here's how it happened. So
that's what I want. Yeah,
we obviously, people always ask us, why don't you get this person or this person or this person? Well, people, I'm not going to name anyone's obvious names. It's not in my business to say why somebody doesn't want to play a live show or like whatever, doesn't want to be in the same room with some other vapor person for some sort of drama or something like that. So there are a lot of vaporwave people, sure, that we reach out to be a part of it. And we were getting really close to getting some, amazing people in that sphere. And then it just basically week after week, after month, they're just kind of falling off. And we're thinking, well, we don't want to do the same thing that we did last year. So we have to come up with some new shit. And, we can't do like washed out again, So like who would be good for this year? And it's actually Lindsay brought up John Mouse. And then so I go, yeah, but that would never really fly, because he was caught up in all this Ariel Pink shit. And, let's look into it. Did he ever renounce anything? And, I'm looking into it. And if you look for it, you can find what you want to see. To basically, if you look for it, if you want to believe that he's a bad guy, you can find that. You can find donations, political donations to Donald Trump. You can find Ariel Pink saying he supports Donald Trump 110%, which for one, I don't think that is enough to make, to cancel an artist. But that's is a controversial as fuck opinion, and I know on this, this stream very well. But to be fair, like, we don't know anybody on this lineup's political affiliation. I'm not going through and asking everyone what their political affiliation is, and who do you support? It's not really important. We're just trying to have a party, and what somebody does in their private life like isn't important if it's not going to bring harm into the show. And I think ultimately what happened was we decided, oh, this is definitely bringing harm. This is bringing fucking harm to the show. Like, there's no question about that. We just didn't think that it would. And so here's why. I have the same, I'm still trying to answer the very first question. So we have the same booking agent, not booking agency. So the guy that books John Mouse sits next to my agent. And I love my booking agent. And he goes, actually, that's not a crazy idea. Like, we're having a brainstorming session, Lindsay and him
That's
and I.
wild.
This is how ElectroniCON works. It's basically me, my booking agent, who talks, who does all of the negotiation with the artists, and then me and Lindsay just like trying to decide who's going to be on it this year. And she was like, well, what about John Mouse? And he was like, well, actually, that's not a crazy idea. he just played the Substance Festival and it went off like without a hitch. And Picture Plane was there. Picture Plane said,
Shout out.
I was there at the Substance Festival and John Mouse played, and it was awesome, and the crowd was really sweet. It was great. Like there weren't any Proud Boys, And I'm looking for Proud Boy support for John online. Like, are there people, because I know now that there are 65-year-old women who drink wine coolers and watch Fox News all day who now love who love Ariel Pink. It's like
Quote unquote.
they're playing Ariel Pink on Fox News.
So you
Never had that on my bingo card.
So you're mentioning that you looked at the Substance Festival that came first, that John had played that festival, and that there was no safety issues or problems at that, and that was one of the things that made you.
That was one of the things.
Choice.
Also, he's
Okay.
currently booked to do a show in London, so we had talked. We have the luxury of talking to his agent about that, his management about that, and his management is like, look, I've known John for this amount of time. Like, I can assure you that he's not a fascist. He's been wrongly accused, and he's denounced all of that shit. And here's where he's done it. And I've got a series of quotes that John has made publicly. And I was like, okay, yeah. And he's like, we're doing this thing in London right now, and no one's saying shit. We've already sold 700 tickets. There are no Proud Boys talking about going to this. There's no white supremacists talking about going to this show. John has specifically condemned white supremacy specifically.
Yeah. So
so we go, okay, this is sounding pretty fucking, this is sounding like this could work. Because I love John Mouse, and if it's not going to cause, if it's not going to upset anyone. And so in reality, I thought, yeah, there's going to be some people who are asking the same questions that they were asking, years back when this happened. But, you sort of see it get explained away in the Reddit threads, where it's just kind of he was just friends with Ariel and now they don't talk anymore. Because this is a John Mouse fan Reddit. So the fans are, here's a thing where Ariel is saying that they don't talk anymore because, the fallout of this with the Substance Festival. And here's this director saying that John was just there because he's friends with Ariel and she brought him down there. And then here's where John says I was there just meeting with Alex Moyer and she wanted to walk down there, and that's where she took that fucking picture of me, but we were down there for a second, and then Ariel wanted to go back and take a nap. We have all of this stuff, and I just want to believe that he's a good guy. And there's not a lot, I guess there's just not a lot of checks and balances, and it's just three people, and we took something that maybe was going over really well in a mainstream audience, but mainstream doesn't mean Proud Boy or tolerant of Proud Boys. You go to the Substance Festival and it's not a white supremacy festival, or you don't go to I've been to several John Mouse shows, and obviously there haven't been many since this, but back then it's a very liberal community and audience, and you see Tim Heidecker there and shit.
Yeah, and like you said, the all gas no brakes guy.
I guess the big issue is that we don't have anything on record of him specifically denouncing the thing that's the most concerning, which is just what people don't know, and that maybe people who are really big fans of John Mouse, who have done a lot of research about him, would know, but there's a lot of people who don't have access to that or who don't see that, and some of those people might not be the right kind of people who are seeing him a certain kind of way. And I guess that is the issue. There's nothing about the January 6th statement, right?
Well, there's nothing.
Does he have?
No, he said he says the day it happened. This is something that he has sent us. But anyways, the day it happened, I sent this religious text condemning Nazism and fascism on his Twitter, and like you could find that like on Wikipedia, but it's like that's not really a statement, and I'm not going to say that that's a statement. You know, like he never has come out and said, you know, like I denounce what happened January 6th. Like he's not saying. He's not saying I think what he needs to say, and you know, sure, like that was you know, kind of an oversight. I didn't see you know, I didn't see this coming. Now I'll own up to it and be like, I'm a fan of John Mouse. I knew that some people were going to think that he was controversial, but I thought we're going to have a handful of people saying some shit, and then there's going to be another handful of people being like, oh no, you know, like he's not that guy. Like here's what he said, you know, about trans people, and here's what he said against racism and you know, white supremacy. And but that really didn't that really didn't happen. It just sort of, you know, spiraled out of control straight away. And maybe those people are right to do that. I'm not going to say that someone's right or wrong. I was definitely wrong in this booking. It was not a good fit.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, he really, I mean, he definitely, it would have been a lot better if he had made some kind of statement, because that event on, you know, January 6th it's you know, it's practically an insurrection. It's a very sensitive issue. It's a very, very awful thing that happened, and has made a lot of people feel uncomfortable. So, you know, it would have been a lot better, I guess, if he had made a statement. But I can understand that if you're a fan of John Mouse, or if you're just kind of looking for the good, you know, it's easy to kind of just, you know, to look at all these things and to get all this information. I think that just the big issue is that, you know, there's no specific statement against the January 6th, you know, incident, and that's the tough thing, right?
Well, right, and you know, I feel like in my world, like it's more about. I guess I was like really just quick to forgive, because, you know, I guess if you look at me and you look at me personally, I just didn't think that. I look to what he has said instead of his silence. And I know that a lot of times silence, it speaks volumes, but, you know, when he's not saying anything, it's definitely made it difficult for us to negotiate justifying him being there in the wake of all of this. It would have been really nice to have had some ammunition, because I'm not comfortable like speaking for him and picking out little bits of shit that he said and like trying to defend him to everyone who's saying some really intense shit about this. And I still don't, you know, I don't believe that I mean, you know, he says he's not a Nazi.
No.
I believe he's not a Nazi, but you know, that's not enough for a lot of people, and I agree with
you. I don't think that he says.
You guys definitely not a Nazi.
He's definitely not. I just think that, you know, being in attendance for that kind of event, like he probably does owe some people. He owes
an explanation for sure.
An explanation. You know, it's he owes people an explanation.
I'm afraid that the explanation might be, well, I don't want to postulate, but you know, like it's probably. Here's the thing. I think that his silence opens up you to say he was there because he supports Donald Trump, and I think that he knows that if he says that is sort of like a suicide, you know, to a certain type of fan. But those, you know, that it's already happened. You know, you're at January, like you got caught at fucking January 6th, like. You know, people who they already know.
Yeah.
You know, but like, there's some people who have played ElectroniCON that, you know, have some questionable beliefs that have been uncovered on Reddit as well, and like people have sort of like accepted that, and it's like maybe they're not my favorite artists, but I'm trying, you know, with ElectroniCON, like I'm trying to give a broad spectrum of what's going on in vaporwave and otherwise, like
Yeah.
what I think people would want to see instead of just picking my friends. I don't want to name names, but I think that we can all, if you know anything about fucking vapor drama, and if you're watching this, you probably do. George Clanton, makes a habit out of booking people who, don't really like him that much and say a lot of, shit about him. So, there's like, I'm booking this event, I'm not trying to play judge and jury through the thing. As long as people are going to be well behaved and we can have a good time, that's all that matters. And you've got 3 stages going all at the same time. So if you don't like this person that has said or done this, well, we've got someone even better on the stage. So there's an element to that I thought was kind of cool, that like people could all kind of come together. And we saw it in ElectroniCON 1 where immediately the second that you're there, that there's an energy here where everyone is getting along better than any other show I've ever been to. And
Real talk.
Yeah, for sure. That's true.
then
It's a
then it
wonderful
happened
experience.
then it happened again, and then it happened again. And so I'm thinking, maybe we like took I don't know, took too big of a risk. We just didn't really take this seriously enough and think about what is this, what is this audience going to think. And what happened is, if it was just that somebody was a shitty person, or that somebody obviously we're not going to have like a rapist be a part of the show, but like if someone is just kind of like has different political views than us, and 100%, I've seen people call 100% electronica apolitical, but like, not historically, like we have been completely written off by the right, for our, left-leaning politics. It's not apoliticalism that the big stream and that George Clanton represents. It's just kind of like my life just kind of fucking sucks. And like, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, and nobody should be getting their politics from me. And honestly, nobody should be getting their politics from Ariel Pink or John Mouse, or this art, not the most fucking degenerate cast of people. Like, musicians historically are supposed to be shitty fucking maniacs.
I think the biggest issue is just worrying about, and I think you did the right decision. I think the big worry is that there is like that small minority of people who, have no idea who John Mouse really is, haven't done the research on him, but maybe they are some sort of far right person, and they have they've read some article about him being at this event, and they don't know anything more than that. And there's always that weird possibility of like somebody like that kind of showing up in a vaporwave space, which is like, clearly like POC positive, queer positive, and like, that's I think the thing that people are most worried about, which is
right. I mean, I would argue it's maybe it's not my place to say, but I would argue that John Mouse has a big queer following to this day. Yeah. But beyond that, like, in private, I've got my phone blown up of queer friends, talking about wishing they could see John Mouse, and that's not. Yeah. Here's the thing. What actually because they're not on Twitter, and they're not on Reddit, and they're not on Instagram, like watching everything that I'm seeing.
Wild.
And, so they're, it's easy for you to come on and say, I really wanted to see John Mouse. Like, well, I did too. I love his music, and that's why I booked him. I wanted to see it. I didn't want to get embroiled in a political fight, and no one does. And I think I would really like to say that isn't going to happen. But which was my belief before that was my belief around Friday. But as you know, you only need to look to my Instagram comments right now, like in real time, the Reddit fucking shit, and Twitter to see, well, now there are people, you know, definitely egging our audience on and saying some really fucked up stuff.
I think that's the thing. Yeah, like once it's like, you know, maybe, you know, now that it's kind of like it's like spread out into the internet zeitgeist, now there might be people getting involved in it that wouldn't have gone involved before if it hadn't been an issue. But so
a lot of brand new accounts popping up out of nowhere, just saying.
So you had to make a decision. And how was it to make that decision? Like what happened with that?
Well, the decision was easy. There was only one decision to make.
Yes.
And basically it was just kind of like keep John Mouse and have no one, or lose everyone and have John Mouse. And it's not supposed to be the John Mouse show. John Mouse is there to bring, because you know what, I know a lot of people watching this have never heard of him and don't think that like he's a real artist, and they're listening to his music and saying, you know, I've seen people say, I just checked out John Mouse today and his music sucks. Like, no, it doesn't. But you know, it doesn't suck. It's fucking
yeah.
Like he might suck, but you know,
well,
it's not for me to say, but music is good. So music's subjective. I know. I'm just saying.
I mean, you know, it's just a shame because what he's done is like sort of slightly just, you know, associated himself and hasn't cleared it up. But you know, you made
maybe
this
he's
decision.
fully associated himself. I mean, it depends on where you're coming from. Like maybe I was delusional. You know, this has me sort of looking at everything a little bit closer. You know, I'm basically living on the edge right now. Like I'm living in kind of like I'm exhausted and I don't know what is, I just feel right now, I feel like I don't know what is real anymore. Like we are coming up with this John Mouse thing like when I'm in fucking Europe and we're going around. I came home from going around the world the long ways and
yeah, true.
Came right into this. So I'm still trying to process everything, and you know, this is a little bit too soon to be reflecting on it, but you know, I feel like I don't have anything to hide. I think that there's a lot of people who are going to, you know, hate me regardless, but the point isn't to try to come up with a, you know, a statement to like appease everyone, because that's impossible. You know, there's a lot of people who don't know that all of this is going on in Twitter right now. They don't see the battle that's going on, the people threatening each other from two different sides, and all they see is George Clanton removes John Mouse, and it's like, I would say probably the majority of people, you know, just think that I'm now like a bad guy for leading this guy on and then taking him off. And you know, like all you have to do is like look at the Pitchfork and Stereo Gum. Like this is more attention than this label has ever gotten, and it's a negative thing, and it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And so I've got people who don't even know who I am calling me a fucking asshole, calling me really ugly names, you know. And basically this is the first time someone's hearing of me, and you know, they're, regardless of what side you're on, everyone has a reason to think that I'm an asshole, you know. So
I mean, I think the one thing that's rough. And the thing that about ElectroniCON is it actually brings people together. And I think that people need to keep that in mind. And that's what this does, is it brings a lot of us together. People have made lifelong friendships at these events. People have, I mean, I've had only good experiences at all the ones I've gone to. And, you know, this has been facilitated by you and the label. And, you know, I really just hope that people also understand that, and that everything that seems that you're doing is just trying to preserve that.
It's my job to make sure that that happens again this year.
Correct. Even if it makes you unpopular once in a while, you're doing it.
So, like a lot of artists on the lineup were getting basically like their own sort of silence is violence like response, like where they're getting pressure from their fan bases saying, why won't you denounce this event? Why won't you denounce this artist? Like, why won't you denounce this event? And I'm saying, like, please, like, just give me one more day. Like, give me one more day to try to. It's the weekend. Like, we're trying to sort this out with, there's people don't understand. There's like, there are people who like stand to make a lot of money. And I am one of the, I will get into this in a minute. I'm one of the least, in this, in that ability to do. But, there's people on the John Mouse management team. There's legal implications. I mean, just think about it. Like, if you're on John Mouse management team, here is a very public thing that has happened. It's caused a huge controversy. Now you have a very public, pulling away. I'm an individual. You need to make sure that everyone is on the same page about what's happening, why it's happening. And honestly, I had hope that John Mouse was a reasonable person and a nice guy deep down on a personal level, and that he would understand what was going on. And that's exactly the response that I got. He was like, I swear, he's telling me, and I wish that he would do this in public, but basically he's telling me, like, I denounce all of this shit. Like, I am so sorry that this has happened to you. Like, I'm watching what's happening, and I'm sorry that this has happened to you and your label, man. Like obviously, like, we're not going to go forward with this. Like, we just, I'm just really embarrassed. Like, I'm sorry that this has happened to you. Like, he's texting me that, and I don't know what to do. Like, but ultimately, what has happened is, I think there's a lot more nuance than people think that there is.
There is.
But that's not important. It's the result that led to the decision that I think a lot of people on both sides are upset about. The result is fact. There are people. This has overshadowed the event. There's 95% other artists on here. This is the most fucking anyone's ever talked about ElectroniCON by a lot, and it's awful. Like, this isn't the type of attention that you want for an event that's supposed to be a big dumb party where everyone gets together and goes nuts and like has sees all of their friends and has a great time. Like, we don't want this cloud hanging over the event. We don't want people coming to the event to make a statement, purchasing tickets to make a statement. Like you see so many times, it's like people will like a bunch of bad shit. Like Morgan Wallen says the N-word, right? And then the country sends his music to #1 country charts because everyone's like, well, I don't fucking care about that. Like, he's getting canceled, I'm gonna buy his ticket. Those aren't the type of tickets that we want to sell. We want the same audience that has always been there. We want to basically have everyone who was at last year come out again. And last year was the best ElectroniCON by far, I think, even better than the first one. And I had a great time, had a great show. I think everybody felt like they had a great time and a great show. And we had an opportunity to do it at the same place this year, but fix a few things that we fucked up, like the food trucks in the little tiny room. And, I was like, great. If I can go back and do the third one again, but make it even better, this is a dream come true. And so having all of this happen, this is my worst nightmare. So, I think that people are have kind of already made up their minds um, about me, but I don't want people to be, holding that against the other artists on the lineup who are also just trying to have a good time and have nothing to do, with who else is on the lineup. They have no control over it. And,
Yeah.
like people are coming to them to denounce it and renounce it. And like, I feel really embarrassed, and I'm indebted to everyone on the lineup who I sort of drug into this mess. Just from me, just kind of not really having my finger on the pulse of like, what does this guy stand for to a lot of people? To me, I'm like, oh, he's saying rights for gays. Oh yeah, and medical care for everyone. Like,
Yeah,
he loves,
understand
he's
that,
for
yeah.
gay rights. And then,
Well, yeah, I
like
understand.
that's a little bit of a childlike.
It's a little reductive.
Well,
Maybe
no,
that's a little bit of a
it's like you're
simplification
a
of it.
fan. Listen, I love his music too. Honestly, like I used to listen to his music a lot. I guess it's just that's it's a shame, really. It's a shame that there's no public statement. But you're doing your very best to make this now something that people can go back to refocusing this on an event where we've always had a great time. A lot of people have come together, and there's a lot of wonderful artists that are playing at this. And that is really what ElectroniCON's about.
Yeah, the biggest shame is the 95% of the other artists, some of which are, also really kind of shocking that they're a part of our party now. Like, James Ferraro, like,
It's amazing.
can we celebrate this? Like, we would love to have all of the people who were cited as creating, as being a part of the creation of Vaporwave, be a part of 100% of ElectroniCON. But, we'll take one of the three any day,
Sure.
So, we're really excited about that, and we're really excited about everyone who had come in the previous years, and, other shit like that. I'm not trying to turn it to a big celebration. I feel like people
No.
people still have a lot of questions about what's going on. But I mean, ultimately, it's just basically like we're put in a position where it's like it was twofold. People are actually talking about turning ElectroniCON into an ideological battleground on the day of, and we can't have people coming in there, saying, I'm going to buy a ticket just to come and wear my MAGA hat. Like,
Right.
No, I don't.
Those people aren't coming.
Let's not even put that
That's
into
empty
the
promises.
world. Let's not even put that thought into the world.
But if you don't take it seriously,
Yeah.
like, I would like to believe that they're not coming also either. But if you don't take it seriously, then it's just kind of like, it's not a risk that I'm willing. It's not a risk anyone's willing to take, and to say like, well, I was wrong. I was already wrong about how people were going to react to John Mouse. I thought that was going to be a huge like celebratory thing. I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of really evaluating everything that I think, and I feel like what has made everything that we have done great is because I'm not trying to emulate anything. I'm just going off of, I'm not following a preset roadmap. I'm just going off of gut instinct, and that has made 100% Electronica a major player, like a big force, and has made it interesting and kind of fun to follow along with. But in this case, my gut instinct was so far off the mark. It has I would say permanently and irreparably sort of damaged my reputation to a large group of people on both sides of this ideological split. And I think that I can only hope that people who can understand the human, you get in these positions, you get dehumanized. Like people talk about how much power you have, and like, why should we put all of our trust in George and shit like that? It's like, oh, I wish that they wouldn't. Like I'm a human being at the end of the day, and like this is really hard for me. Like I don't enjoy doing this. Like I want to be, being an artist, but like I'm in a position where like started doing this ElectroniCON thing, and now everybody's like, when's the next ElectroniCON? When's the next ElectroniCON? And I thought that last year was going to be the last one because it was such a pain, and like I don't really have mental breakdowns, but when I have them, it's ElectroniCON related. I've broken into
Damn.
tears over ElectroniCON
It was amazing last
multiple
year.
times.
It was amazing last year. It
Yeah,
was an
thank
amazing
you.
party. Amazing party.
It really was.
Well, I know, and the only reason that we did it this year is because I don't know if everybody sees it, but like, of course, I see it because it's directed at me. Like for ElectroniCON last year, there were thousands of negative comments insofar as the lineup, me as a person, sort of steering the ship of Vaporwave, and what's wrong with that, and like there's all these other people, and like I was so mad at so many people who thought that they were being anonymous, but like I knew who they were, and it just really hurt me as a human, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. It'd be different if you were like a corporation who didn't have a face and who didn't have their own music career and who didn't like sort of mean anything to anyone, like that didn't stand for anything. But like to have to like be on display in this way where you're like doing something other than your art, really annoying and hard. And I didn't make a cent more than I would make. I made more money playing New Year's Eve and my own show at New Year's Eve, just George Clanton, than I did for the entire ElectroniCON festival, ElectroniCON 3.
I mean, George, I know you're seeing a lot of these
100 people.
I know you're seeing a lot of those negative comments, and that's difficult to not see that when you're the person in charge of setting up. It's difficult to not see the negative, but I really do want you to remember all the strong positive comments that were made about it, and all the strong connections that were made by people, and how many people, for them, that's one of the most memorable experiences of their life. That's one of the times that they got to see all their friends that they never ever see. And I really, really want you to remember that as well, and to hold that in your heart, because that's very important. And I know
I
this
saw
is difficult.
you there, and you said that to me in the little sweat room.
Yeah, I remember.
You said that to me.
The sweat room.
But like, sometimes how it is. Like sometimes the bad things, the good things, you can't digest them, but the bad things just really hurt. And well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's not what I want to talk about. I'm just really tired, and I can get off focus really easily.
Oh no. I mean, we've been off focus a lot, but I just want you to remember that, and that is in general what ElectroniCON is supposed to be. And I want people to understand that that's what it needs. It's being steered towards again, and this is difficult learning. Look, everything is in life is a learning experience, and we don't always get these things right. And there's no roadmap for this sort of thing. And these things can happen, but you can fix them. And you can focus on what it's supposed to be. With everything in life, that's a big thing that brings people together. There's always going to be some kind of problem, and it's okay.
There are some people that mentioned to me that they felt truly comfortable being themselves for the first time at ElectroniCON.
Yeah,
I think that speaks volumes.
And that kind of thing makes me feel really good. And I just have to say, well, like ElectroniCON has a lot of what do you call them, like intangible benefits too. It's not about making the most money, but like we fight really hard because it also gives the artists on my label like quite a big platform to perform in front of a lot more people than they would otherwise have. by
True.
all of our powers combined. It's kind of like the philosophy of 100% electronic. Like, let's all come together and put it all on one.com, and then, you know, we'll cross promote each other. And it's like, by our powers combined, I am Captain Planet. You know, like let's like be stronger together. So I have this. Through being George Clanton, I have this opportunity to like communicate with large venues and get them to trust me and let me curate something. And then when it works, it gets bigger. It works again, it gets bigger. It works again, it gets even bigger.
Yeah.
So, you know, like at a certain point, like, yeah, maybe it doesn't have to get bigger every year.
Doesn't.
But our philosophy was, the more people that we can get into the room, you know, it's like booking people like John Mouse or booking people like Washed Out or Neon Indian. Like, I know that the people who are basically watching this, you know, the people who are really involved in vaporwave and vapor drama and vapor culture and vapor nation, you know, the people who are really involved with it, they're more interested to see Desert Sand than they are to see Washed Out. You know what I'm saying? But like the goal isn't to find someone bigger to entertain you. The goal is to get someone who has a fan base that isn't aware of all these other people, who when they come to the show are going to be presented and say, whoa, I didn't know this whole world existed. Like,
of course,
I want to be a part of this. Like, I want to be a part of this, and this is the most effective way that I know of
totally
growing
makes sense.
a scene that can sometimes
Be
feel stagnant or in decline. So definitely
Makes
ElectroniCON 1 started a whole new world, you know, for vaporwave, and now
makes
we
sense.
see a lot.
Makes sense. Bringing other people in makes a lot of sense, you know. And you know, there's really no roadmap. And you know, the sad thing is, we don't live in this perfect world where we can, you know, insulate ourselves from the evils outside, and they will bleed in, even trickling by just a little bit sometimes. And it's just, it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks. And it's very hard to navigate all this, especially when, you know, you have the mission of trying to bring new people into this musical world by appealing to them with artists that are not necessarily directly related to it. And you know, it's a lot to juggle, and it's a magical event at the end of the day, though. It's a magical.
And
event.
that's just my philosophy. That's not the way
Makes
that
sense.
anybody else has to do their event. And there's nothing in the rule books that says just because 100% Electronica has a big festival that you can't have a big festival too, or that you can't like have your own vapor festival. And I've seen a lot of people like implying that that's the case, but I've said from day one, I want everybody else to be doing this. Like, don't look to me to do everything. Like, I'm tired. I'm old. Like, I am tired as fuck all the time. Y'all need to take out and do all of your stuff. And you see like amazing stuff like Ronnie's doing with Vapor Space. And
shout out Ronnie.
Chris, you were, you know, what you were already doing. And you know, like, but other people have been doing parties like yours and other, you know, like out here in California. Yeah. So like, you know, good for them. But I think, you know, the sad thing that I see a lot of people, I think that they have, you know, their own kind of agenda, and it's like, yeah, make your own party, but also like, don't you know that there already are parties, maybe even in your neighborhood, and you're talking about making a party? Like, show up to them, go to them, support them.
Real talk.
Because no, I don't want it to be on me. Somebody said like, George Clanton liked my tweets. He must be thinking that he must be tired of doing this, and he's like showing humility. He must have a lot of humility after this big flop. It's like, no, that's just been my stance since day one. Like, it's just supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. It is.
That's
fun.
a good stance.
It's not supposed to, George. It is very fun. It's very very fun. It's not supposed.
Yeah.
It is. It succeeds in that.
Well, it's fun for you. I have a damn hard time.
I have
yeah,
a great
you
time.
poor thing.
That's Your eyes look incredibly bloodshot every time I talk to you at these things, man. I don't even.
Y'all got to stop hassling this man about his eyes.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just acknowledging.
This poor man.
Or I'm visible in his visage.
It's true, but the day that I will say, you know, the first half of the ElectroniCon, and then of course my own show,
Yeah,
is always so much fun. By the second half, people are so drunk and having so much fun that like I can't walk anywhere or do anything, so I can't like watch the shows anymore.
Right.
But it is nice to.
The real reason you banned the sweat room.
What's the real reason?
I told you couldn't even get in the room.
Oh well, I actually was able to get in through the back to perform with Equip. But no, that what I mean, you know, people just they want to talk to you and or whatever and take a photo. I guess in the beginning of the day they're not drunk enough yet to say anything, and they're just enjoying the show. But and of course I welcome that if somebody cares, you know, if you care to have a photo, of course ask and I will. But like you can't watch a show like that, so you know you just give up. But it is really nice. It's getting to see people that you never get to see.
Yeah.
Backstage and getting to hang out with them and talk about vaporwave movement and otherwise.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of fun for me, and it really made it worth it. And I came into ElectroniCon exhausted and not wanting to do it again. But yeah, it's undeniable. I have great shows. I have amazing shows, but ElectroniCon's a little bit.
It's a different breed.
It's a vibration.
It's a different breed, and it's not like anything else out there, you know. And it's so funny when I talk about like, oh, this is my friend from high school, this is my friend from college, this is my friend from work, this is my friend from vaporwave, and then some of the vaporwave people have been my friends for like a decade now, man. Like I've known you for like a decade now.
Yeah, it's getting wild.
It's crazy. More than that, maybe. Actually.
We're definitely
about
getting
a decade
old.
at least. Crazy.
And a lot of the people who are, you know, talking about this and, you know, saying that I have bad intentions or whatever, you know, they were 6 years old when we met, you know, so like there's a long and storied history. Like
really
I feel like I've done enough to show that I'm one of the good guys. I mean, just look to what the bad guy's opinion of me is to decide. But like maybe I haven't done enough, and this, you know, this is definitely a fuck up in their eyes, and you know, we want to do. I would never, you know, the statement that I released is 100% accurate. You know, it's not like a PR statement. It's just kind of like it's a mess. Like I just want people to come and have a good time, just like ElectroniCON 3. If it's not going to happen like that, I don't really stand to gain anything, and as we have seen, I have a lot to lose. Like, I've got my own like music career to worry about, like the label ElectroniCON. That's not really my job. Like, I make my living from being George Clanton. I make my living when George Clanton goes on tour. Like, this is more of just kind of something tangential that we can do that is kind of like feels like something that nobody else is doing, so it's been kind of irresistible. And you know, each time I have to reevaluate is the work worth it or not. And I gotta tell you, like, it's gonna have to be a really great fucking show for ElectroniCON 5 to come around again. But if it doesn't, God bless anyone else who, you know, and support the other shows that
very cool
are already happening. And if you support those shows, then more they can go to bigger and bigger spaces, and have more and more artists. And you know, like, no, we're not bringing ElectroniCON to Chicago. Make your own Chicago. Get started. Like, just do it. So
I think that's the thing that people don't always realize about you, George, is that like you just did these things. Like I've known you for a long time, and there's not like some kind of crazy sponsorship behind you. This is like, if we talk about vaporwave being somewhat similar to the concepts of like punk and hardcore as being like do it yourself, build it from the ground up, that is what you have done. What you've done with your festival, what you've done with your record label, just speaking as someone who's watched you do it for a long time now. That is what you've done. And it's not you're not a it's not it's a you made this, you know, it's like a joke. It's like you're the corporation, but it's like it's DIY. You made it. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal. And I think
you
people
can't
don't really
sell out.
quite realize that. You didn't like this is all built like from nothing.
Yeah.
In the
This
same
isn't
way all
like
DIY
daddy's
things are. In the same way all DIY subversive subculture movements are. It's built you know, in opposition to the bigger things out there already. So I think people should I think it's good that people should recognize that, in my opinion.
And in the way that it's not a corporation, you know, we just fucked up and we didn't have, you know, the money or the team to sort of to sort of temperature check this and to be able to more intellectually predict how it was going to go over within Vapor Nation. And you know, I feel like I've let a lot of people down, and well, I know that I have. I read that I have. I have photos. I have photos of people who are anti-John Mouse. I have photos of people who are anti-John Mouse ripping up my t-shirts and vinyl and the cassette tapes everywhere. I don't know if you've seen that. And
Sad.
I have photos of people who are pro John Mouse who are setting my shit on fire. And it's just kind of like,
You got
like
both,
I
didn't
don't
you?
really like.
Man,
It's not my position to like. I don't want to care about the John. Like I don't want to care about the John Mouse battle. I didn't know it existed, but I put myself in the middle of it, and you know, now I have to deal with it, and I can live with that because ultimately I had the power to stop it, so it was my decision, and you know, it was me and Neggy Jimmy's decision, and you know, we love each other, and if all of this shit falls apart, like we still have each other, like it's fine. But like at the same time, like it's just really my responsibility to make sure that the other artists who were dragged in, everyone else's name on that list, who's getting heat, the vaporwavers, who are getting heat, like, you know, James Ferraro isn't getting, nobody's talking to him about it, nobody's talking
Right.
to, you know, but like the vaporwave people who the vaporwave community feels, who are so offended, you know, they're coming and attacking my friends and family about it, and it's really not it's not those artists' problem. If I'm guilty, they're completely innocent. So the number one thing that needed to happen was just, you know, we needed to move forward. We wanted to prevent all of our friends and you know, chosen family to be spared being forced to basically quit the show or be complicit in essentially being, you know, people went so far as to tell people that if to call John Mouse a Nazi, and then to say, if you don't say anything announcing him as a Nazi, then you, by proxy, are a Nazi. So like these people who are just trying to play ElectroniCON, which is a great party, you know, are kind of being lumped into being like Nazis and shit. Like, and
That's not how life works.
Yeah,
I
that's
just I know
not
that
how
those
life
are
works.
the most extreme among us, you know, but I was really sort of shocked to see some people who, you know, we've interfaced with for years sort of take such a hard stance on artists that we know are good people, you know, not John Mouse, but like artists that we know are good people. And that was the saddest thing about it.
Fellas, when would be a good time to start the Q&A?
Why don't you
Right
do
now.
it? Right now.
We all right with that?
Yeah. It's. Yeah,
I don't mean to be
and-
pushy. People are asking
No,
in
not
chat.
at all. Absolutely, and let's do that. And
I've got-
once again, okay, go ahead.
No. I want you to
I'm gonna
finish
say, I'm
first.
gonna start right. No. Let me do something. All right. Once again, these event is very special. These artists are very special. What you do is very special. There's so many people that are brought together. I mean, I have so many wonderful memories from you and the other artists and these events, and it's a big part of my life. And you have helped foster that and keep it going. And I without Vaporwave several years ago, like I don't even know if I'd be around today. And,
Yep.
I appreciate all these things, and I really want you to think about all the people that you've helped to with this. I really just want you to do that. But let's take some questions.
I want to start with a question that was actually asked quite a ways back. And go ahead and start with the questions in chat, y'all, but take it easy on me. I'm going to just copy all these. People are asking about, you'll forgive me, it's RXN Nephew. People are asking about him as well. Apparently he's got some controversial beliefs as well.
Yes.
Multiple people have asked.
RXK nephew.
RXK,
So,
thank you. Forgive me.
Yes. RXK nephew. He is a very trendy artist right now. Yes, his lyrical content is god awful. He is. It's unlike anything I've ever heard before.
Really quick.
But RXK nephew, I think, is a little bit of a different case. He's just like playing a character, like it's like art. Like he says a
it's in
lot of
jest.
things. Well, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, but he says some shit about like he says all kinds of shit. He talks about like shooting up schools and stuff, and it's just kind of like. But he also,
Jesus.
he talks about like, you'll just have to listen to it. I mean, if you listen to it, it's obviously like, blah 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 blah. It's like humor, and it's not edgelord humor. It's not like $1 Million Extreme or something. There's nothing coming from it. He's just like, this is his art style, and he's playing like this character, and whether that's excusable or not is in the eye of the listener. But I didn't think that we're canceling people here based off of their lyrical content or whatever. I feel like we're canceling people based off of, are they going to bring a hostile environment into our show? And that hasn't been it. So I think that people are looking into RXK Nephew right now as part of kind of like a deep dive on what have people done. I mean, I know that people have uncovered that James Ferraro has been involved in some kind of NFT party that the guy from, I can never think of his name, but like, he had that show on $1 Million Extreme, $1 Million. Is that the name of it? MD. I know it's MDE. Damn Hyde. So James Ferraro is like doing a NFT party, but it's like, is taking money from someone who he probably doesn't know who the fuck they are? Like, is that going to bring a new or a bad or an aggressive audience into ElectroniCON? No, I don't think so. So, I don't know. Like, I don't have anything. I can't defend RXK Nephew's lyrics. You have to listen to it and make a decision for yourself. Maybe. I don't think they do. I mean, like, but that's for me to decide. Like, I think it's an individual thing. I think a lot of people don't want. A lot of people are very they don't want to support anyone. Like I think a lot of the issue around John Mouse is the money that you're spending is going to end up going to someone who could potentially donate money to the Donald Trump re-election campaign. So, you know, we saw that in the Reddit thread. Which, of course, you know, if you wanted to look, I mean, some people are now saying, well, we know that John Mouse lives in Minnesota, and this is some guy in California. And if you change the search parameters to be in Minnesota, you'll see that he's donated to Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders. But I don't know what's true, and I just think if you have to look up an artist, if you have to be a private investigator and start looking up what an artist is doing, what are you doing with your life? Like, that has nothing to do. That's just like, it has nothing to do with music. So, you know, like, that's not really what I think society should be doing. This kind of thing is the reason that everyone hates each other and no one can get along, is people on both sides looking for the devil in each other constantly. And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, so it's not my job to be like political Jesus. I'm really exhausted with the politics of everything. Like, I sort of got really, I think we all did, and we still are, but got really extreme in the way that we were feeling about the country, and felt like we really wanted to do something, and we still do, but I just don't want to bring any of that into my music. Like, I feel like my music is my safe space, and if we want to have a political rally, let's do that, and let's have our own political opinions. But like, music and politics, I think a lot of people would argue that they go really well together, but my music doesn't. Like, it's not political, and nor is, I would say, most of vaporwave. It's not a political stance, I don't think that we should be asking artists what their politics are. I think what we should be asking, professors and philosophers and intellectuals, not degenerate, meth abusing, questionable artists, what their politics are. Like, when we find out that Ariel Pink's politics are fucked, it's like, well, who cares? Look at all the other awful shit that he's done. I think that his politics are the least damning thing about him. It sort of has covered up, overshadowed a lot of the, like, one man's opinion. Like, one man's opinion, is that important? What about the the harm that he's brought to other people, like, tangibly?
Yeah.
But
well
nobody
said.
really wants to talk about that. But I don't want to defend. I'm not defending Ariel's politics, and I don't want to defend John Mouse's politics. I just personally, I think that's a big problem. I think that's part of the problem, is that I don't hold artists accountable for their politics unless it is, becomes a problem into the space that they're existing in. Insofar as,
Fair.
like, for example, the exact example of bringing a Proud Boys into ElectroniCON, like, because, guys, like, I'm aware, I read all the comments, and I see all of this shit, and I kind of know who everybody is, and there are, like, Proud Boys already at ElectroniCON. They're already there, like, but they're minding their business, and we're just trying. I don't want anybody to have a fight. So,
Yeah.
like, if nobody's fighting, like, if everybody's getting along, then it's kind of like a utopian society where, you know, the guy who keeps fucking donating to the big stream just so he, like, creating new usernames to donate to the big stream so he can make it say the N word somewhere on the donation message,
Oh God.
is right
Yeah.
there standing, you know,
Next
standing right there to someone who's, you know, of color and clearly queer, and they're dancing in each other's sweat, having a good time.
Damn.
And
yeah, that's yeah. That's
Pretty
the thing.
wild,
So-
isn't it?
so
That's
like
the thing, man.
I'm not going to kick someone out of ElectroniCON because I know some of the bullshit that they've said on the internet. I don't know what someone is struggling with a mental illness or
Yeah.
anything like that. I want to
point.
judge people based off of their actions. So if people are coming to the event and they're having a good time and other people are having a good time with them in their presence, that's the goal. And
That's-
I have no interest in a witch
Yeah.
hunt.
It's a noble goal.
Yeah. That's the power of art and the power of these events is to melt away those outside things and bring together the human element. You know what I mean? And to really
we-
just have that happen.
If not art, what? What's going to
Not
do
art.
it?
Like what
Dude.
else is going to unite us, you know?
Dude, guess. If not art, what?
I think it's dangerous to sort of bring. I think it's dangerous to bring this sort of thing into the music space because it is kind of a sacred space. I mean,
I
politics
like that you said that. It's a sacred space.
are already, you know, church isn't a sacred space. Church is so closely tied to identity politics now. You know, like what music is, you know, music is the real church. And, you know, when we come together to worship, I want everybody to be on their best behavior.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think that there's ever been any good, like, Nazi music. Like, I know that there's been, like, Nazi music, but nothing that's good.
No.
So, you know,
Yeah.
like, music is a really good way of, like, showing, you know, maybe these people don't even understand, like, showing people that you can all come together and get along under one roof. And maybe that's a little bit of a, an ideal
hot take.
position to take.
A hot
Yeah.
take. No,
But,
I understand. I understand what you're saying a lot.
But that is to say, on the other hand, no, we don't have any. It's if somebody's causing a problem, they're gone. Like, these are happening. We are holding these events at extremely professional places that are having, you know, pride events. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know what they're doing. They have a strict code of ethics. I mean, this is New York City. Like, a lot of people
Yep.
a lot of people don't understand that, but like that shit just does not apply at all in any of the spaces that we've ever had ElectroniCON in. You know, there's a documentary about the queer origins of Jules Catch One, and its position as an iconic queer space. And
I didn't know
in
that. That's
LA.
badass.
Yeah, and then look that
Very
up,
cool.
and then
Yeah.
and obviously elsewhere is like the gay capital of Brooklyn, you know. So
I did not
So
know that.
you-
That's fucking cool.
you know, like we're very keen to that, and anyone who would do anything fucked would be gone. But it's never happened. It's never happened. We've never had a problem. No, every time we come, the security goes. That was at every George Clanton show. There's only been 3 ElectroniCONs, but at all 3 ElectroniCONs they go, everyone was on insanely good behavior. No one tried some shit, because you go to the club and people are fucked up, and somebody, you know, people are drunk and they'll try some shit. The vibe has always been too good for anybody to be mad at anybody and try some shit. We're just out there trying to have the time of our lives. So, I mean, I've been at clubs where there's been fights. I know what it's like, and they're ready for that. But it's never happened. And it won't happen. But if it did, there wouldn't be any tolerance at all to someone
That's really reassuring to a lot of your audience, I think.
verbally abusing someone, even in the slightest. Almost like I'm sure it would be, even if it was a lie, like if you just hated someone and you went up to the security and you said, this person called me a slur, they would be gone. It's just kind of like they don't risk it.
Right.
I mean, let's not do that, but I'm saying that's just the type of space it is. They're very, very, very hypersensitive and take that kind of thing extremely seriously.
I was apparently muted when I asked you the question.
Oh, I'm
Question.
sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's mine.
Yes.
They wanted to know, guys, if an artist needed to justify or explain their politics or beliefs. That was the question. Thank you for your answer. I've seen another question pop up at least 5 times in chat. People are asking about the issue of refunds for people who have been to ElectroniCON, aren't happy that John got booted. What's the plan for that?
The plan is contact Knockdown Center. I'm not supposed to make a forward-facing statement about that, but refunds are available.
That's a good answer. You guys know exactly what to do. People are asking if there will be a replacement artist for John Mouse.
Absolutely.
Oh, really? Well, that's exciting.
It is exciting.
That's exciting. See?
Some people have
Wow.
mentioned some names that may or may not, of course, materialize. But we can only...
That's
we can't wait to see who it'll be.
Is that an exclusive? Did we just hear that for the first time? That there'll be a replacement?
I think it's a logical conclusion that you can
Yeah,
make.
it is.
And now it's
probably not going to be Vectroid.
Now it's an exclusive.
Now it's
Yeah.
an exclusive. It's been announced, sir.
Well,
That's a hot take.
we've got some work to do. I think it's very sensitive. Can you imagine? Like now, all spotlight on this artist. Like who's gonna want to
Yeah.
take that?
I mean, I think a lot of people
Right.
would. It's a phenomenal opportunity. Still,
They're going to be
Yeah,
evaluated.
absolutely.
They're going to be put through the scrutiny, and then if they are, if they're too queer or something, it's going to be called a performative decision that we decided. And then if they aren't queer enough, it's going to be, you should have given this, there's no way to win on this, but it doesn't matter. Like it's just like, as long as we've just basically, the fact of the matter is that we've got an hour to fill. We've got an hour more entertainment to enjoy. So we need to come up with something.
right?
Right. And
Right.
so, like, let's try
Let's do
to.
that.
We're gonna come up
That's
with
my
it. And
vote.
listen, if you are trying to, probably the ones that you're thinking of, that would be a headliner along the lines of a John Mouse, which it's like, there are a lot of artists that you could mention.
Yeah.
That they just don't really have reach outside of vaporwave. And people just as an aside, let me put this in parentheticals. A lot of people are saying that this is even less vaporwave. Like, this is less vaporwave. It gets less vaporwave every year. This has more vaporwave artists, more literal vaporwave artists than ElectroniCON 1. So people are really stretching the facts here to suit their narrative. Count them. Look on it and count them. But we have more artists, so we have more time. We have 2 days. So there's more place to be experimental and tangential with it. But we have more vaporwave artists than we had at the ElectroniCON 1. So keep that in mind.
Wow. I didn't know that, actually. It's pretty badass.
Well, take a look, baby.
Take a look.
But
It's still a pudding.
I think it comes down to if you count me or not. But I was at
Right.
the first one too.
Ace Fantasy for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
People are asking about how you feel about the upcoming tour with Frost Children and DDS.
Oh, I'm very excited about it. Yes. I feel great about it. Is there?
Good question.
Is there more to it?
People are
That's
out.
it.
No, that was
Just really
it.
want to know
People,
how you're feeling about it. I'm really happy you're doing good. Really happy.
somebody asked a bit
about it.
a while back how you can be so chill amid these circumstances.
I'm not chill. I'm not chill at all.
George is not being. He's doing
No,
a great job at holding it together. But
Yeah, you really are.
I'm
I
not
didn't
chill at
think
all.
that he was
This
gonna
is
be chill at all.
this is the lowest. This is the lowest that I have felt, and since I was grieving a death very close to me. So
Oh.
I feel really, we are completely deflated, and we have 2 months. We have 2 months to find our footing. But we were riding really high. It just hurts. I mean, it hurts the body a lot when you're riding really high, and then and thinking. I think I've made it. I think that this is a good decision, and everyone's going to be happy with it. And this is going to be just like all the ElectroniCONs, except bigger and better.
Yeah.
To find out that no, a core group of audience of people that we're trying to entertain now not only are disappointed, but they hate you, and they are afraid, and are, making some horrible stuff that hurts a lot, and it's scary, kind of scary to read. And it's like such an extreme difference that, and I spent my wife's Negi Jimmy's family had planned to stay with us here, so they're with us this entire time.
Oh boy.
While since they've been here, I've been dealing with this the entire time. There's been
Ouch.
so many. They've seen me at my worst, and I've just had to be on the phone the entire time, sort of talking with the artists who are on the bill, or talking with my agent, who is sort of guiding me through the sort of professional needle that I need to thread, and he's working through the weekend because we have a really tight relationship, but his office and Mouse's agent, Mouse's management, the legal people who can make sure that everything is going to be okay, the publicist people who need to negotiate, am I going to do damage, to get approval through to mediate between his team and our team. None of these people are working. While all that's happening, everyone's coming at every artist on the list, and I'm having, and they're looking to me for guidance, and I can't do anything. My hands are tied, and I'm just writing my thoughts as they come, like I'm writing an essay of everything, of how this happened, why it happened, what are we going to do, and that's all that I can do. And I'm forwarding that, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And me and my agent's you need to shrink this down to 20% of what you've done. And then I'm rewriting it, and I'm like, well, what are we going to say? And are we going to get out of this? How's it going to play out? Is this bad? Yes, this is really bad. Here's you can't just say something and then so I'm having to explain that to a lot of people who, I'm dealing with this for my first time, but I'm having to explain it to people who are dealing with any type of professional show stuff for the first time. They're looking to me for guidance. I brought them into this mess. It's like being a pilot and knowing that something that you did is causing the whole 747 to crash and burn. And it's just it feels really bad. I can live with the heat on myself, but the artists who were scared that was the hardest part. So I'm not chill. I'm not chill at all. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I'm going to come out of this unscathed. I don't think that I will. But live. That's life. C'est la vie. I'm just, I have a new album coming. I can. I'm really excited about that, and I don't want to I don't want to. It's obvious that I will feel down right now, but we're going to work really hard to make ElectroniCON the best that it can be, and that's going to make me more chill. Right now, I'm not.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
not chill.
Yeah, I've seen early George Clanton shows. He can be not chill. People are asking if there will be a possibility to expand the next event with even more artists, in particular POC.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely are trying to do that. Not everyone, I would say, not everyone that we reach out to agrees to be a part of our show, and also, I don't think because, and I hope not because of any political reasons, but also there's a very, I would say, a limited pool of POC to choose from in the direct vaporwave culture. So we often we get lucky if someone that we like, because I might get eaten up for this, but I really don't want to book artists just because they're gay or just because they're people of color. But there are a lot of artists that I like that are people of color, and not everyone has a free schedule. There are, I would say, for every ElectroniCon, there's also just as many people who are on the list who couldn't do it as well.
You've been trying to
Due
get
a
Windows
conflict.
96 for ever.
Well, we can't get Windows 96 due to the stringent visa requirements of the
Right.
country that we live in. We were able to make that happen in Spain. But yeah, we have gone through the process of trying to get him in, and obviously as a key component to the label. But yeah, it hasn't happened. If we had, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but we have spoken to lawyers about trying to help us do this, and there's a certain amount of basically actually publicity that you have to have through nationally recognized publicity in order to make the claim that you have a talent or skill that is worthy of special, I forget what they call it, but worthy of special mention.
Making an exception.
Yeah, that doesn't already exist in the United States. That wouldn't be taking a job away from an artist in the United States.
That's crazy.
That is awfully stringent.
Wow, that's crazy.
And
these are good things for us to know.
This is interesting stuff. That's an interesting thing that I think a lot of people realize about.
I would say all of the obvious things, all of the obvious people that people are listing. I'm not looking at the chat right now because I can't do this and that at the same time.
Of course.
But I see it when I do have the guts to look at Twitter. I'll stumble across comments of people saying certain artists that we want to see, that we would like to see, or that we would rather like to see at ElectroniCON. And a lot of those people are on my email list and don't want to do it. They don't want to do it either because they are not playing any shows, have never played any shows, and don't want to play any shows ever. Maybe they don't want to travel, especially the vaporwave people are very peculiar people. They're very peculiar people. Or they are, I'm not going to name any names here, but are extremely popular and somewhat untouchable and could fill the space up in ElectroniCon over all by themselves.
Oh, damn.
And can't burn a New York, what they call burn a play in New York by playing our event for much less money than they would get.
Good
if they
point.
just
That is
did
a
it
very good
themselves.
point.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I
people,
never thought about that.
Interesting.
and likewise, like, there are records that we've wanted to release and people that we have wanted to work with who don't want to work with us for any number of reasons.
Really?
Maybe they have their own thing going on, or maybe they have another label that they're interested in. And not everybody, people really labor under the assumption that, like, 100% Electronica is really super fucking cool, and, like, who wouldn't want to be a part of ElectroniCon? Well, a lot of people have a lot of cool festivals to play, and a lot of people think that we're kind of dorky, like
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's funny.
We're really dorky.
I always think it's funny when you see people being like, God, in the Twitter bit, God, Electronica, 100% Electronica, so like corporate. I'm like, man, if you think 100% Electronica is corporate, wait till you discover real music, like really
the Red
popular
Bull music festivals,
Wait
which
till
are
you
actually
discover
still pretty cool.
Every other music label out there.
No shit, right?
You guys think these guys are corporate and like gatekeeping or whatever? Like, oh boy, where do you look at any other record label that is out there? Like, when you look at anything else, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
We've got a viewer with a really good question. Wants to know, back around about the 30-minute mark in the stream, you were talking about Ariel and John Mouse visiting the January 6th event. You mentioned, if I wasn't afraid of everyone and everything, I could see myself going down there for some freaky tourism. Some of the people in the chat perceive this as a callous statement. Some POC and immigrants in the chat who wouldn't have the luxury to partake in that would like to know what you would say to the people in the chat that are perceiving you as privileged or out of touch with those concerns.
It's not a privilege to go down there and look at it. I mean, do you want to go down there and look at it? It would be a perverse curiosity to want to go down there and see it, like an observer, like a CNN or a like a news reporter. Like, I don't think, I mean, there are places as a like as a white person, I guess, that I can't go, but it's like, do you want to be in those disclusive spaces? Like, it wouldn't be a privilege to be in a place that doesn't, include other people. It's not something that I would necessarily want to do, but like, and I wouldn't want to do it, because I'm afraid of those people. But like, I can see where someone would. I can see where, in my coping mechanism, this is because that answer is in reference to my coping mechanism to justifying my belief in John Mouse as the good person. I can try to say,
I see what you're
why
saying.
would somebody want to go? Like, I can see how John Mouse. People don't know. John Mouse has a PhD in political science.
He does,
and he wrote a leftist dissertation, and identifies himself as the left of the left of the left of the left. So like, I'm sure that he doesn't. That's like his. Like, this type of a once in a lifetime like event, whether despite it being like a nightmare, is kind of like someone who is so interested in politics, because that's going to be in the history books. It's like, I don't want to, you don't want to kill Jesus, but it's like, the crucifixion is kind of like an interesting thing to see if you have a time machine. Like, so not to compare this to the crucifixion of Jesus. Now I've really fucked up. But what I mean is, John Mouse, to him, John Mouse, to someone with a PhD, to someone who is obviously very, and I don't want to make any presumptions about his brain, But like, as someone who's obviously very quirky and different, and if you just look at any interview with him, like John Mouse is a very interesting, strange personality. Someone with a PhD in political science is going to look at that event and see it as something that is that's like his, what do you call the football game? That's his Super Bowl.
Ah.
So like, I'm saying it in reference to say, like, I can see how John Mouse would want to go down there. I mean, now, I guess, you know, in light of seeing that he donated, you know, allegedly, but it looks like it, donated to the Trump campaign, you know, then you can take that information and it's a lot less, you know, easier to digest that maybe he was just down there to look at what the fuck is going on. But like, when it came time for me to ask myself, what did he do? Yeah, you know, it was really easy for me to say, oh, he was just down there, like, seeing what was going on.
Rubbernecking.
But, yeah. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Guess that's a better question for John.
I wish that he would say. No, I think that I did say that. I think that's a good question for me. I knew that when I said it, it didn't sound very good, the way that I phrased it. But yeah, I mean, there are scary things that happen, you know, in LA, and I was actually in Charlottesville when there was that
the tiki
riot.
torches.
Yeah, I was living in Charlottesville at that time.
Unreal.
And you know, not the tiki. There was the tiki torches, but then there was like the event where people were going to protest, and there was a leftist rightist battle that went down, and someone actually died and got run over, and we were like just holed up in our house, like scared of what's going to happen. So no, in real life I wouldn't go to some sort of meltdown like that, because I am scared. But like, I guess someone who has a perverse interest in what's going down on the front lines of American politics today, you know, I guess I justified it insofar as thinking that somebody like that would want to observe it.
Yeah.
That's a fair answer. Right. I mean, it's a fair assumption. Thank you for answering that question. Let's see. I don't want to ask any more questions that are speculating about John Mouse. I feel like John probably would, like, those are questions he needs to answer. And
also, like, yeah, I would be speculating. I mean, I feel like I've covered that. Like, I have my information. I have him forwarding these. He says, I think the only thing that I should say is, like, he says, in relation to a simple statement of my own, it would probably be something like this, quote, which they are free to include as well. And in reference to this is in reference to the statement that I made, and I chose not to include it because it just wouldn't fit. And because it's his job to make a statement, in my opinion.
Yeah, real talk.
He says, quote, there are rumors that I was a pro-Trump rioter on January 6th. That is not true. I was in Washington that day with a film crew. I have always been opposed to the far right. So that's the statement that he wanted.
Okay, he made a statement.
He wanted me to.
So he made a statement.
There we go.
He wanted me to make that for him.
He wanted you to make. Is that the first time it's being read?
Yeah.
So this is the first time John Mouse's statement has been about the January 6th incident has been broadcast. Interesting.
I'm not. Well.
Wow. You heard it here on Hot Takes.
Because, only
on
Hot
my
Takes.
heart.
Only on Hot Takes. You
warm my heart.
What we have had a question about for like 2 years now is now been disclosed on Hot Takes officially. So Pitchfork, do you hear that?
Well, the way that I see it the way that he's saying they are free to include this as well. I think that he should be. Actually, I need to go and look at it, but I think that he did make a statement like this on the Pitchfork article has been updated, and maybe he has made a statement like this. You might want to check on that on the side.
Check on that right now.
Right.
Because they asked me for his contact information. But there are rumors. He says there are rumors that I was pro-Trump riot on January 6th. This is not true. I was in Washington the other day. Yeah. So I feel like that statement, like, my opinion, that's definitely not. That's not enough for this audience. Like that is not.
I agree.
That's not what they want to know. They have so many more questions.
True.
And I think that the only question that I can't answer is the John Mouse in California. There's like a whole fucking private investigator mystery about which one's the real. Did he just donate to Bernie Sanders and then flip to Trump in 2000? The next year and move to California and donate to Trump, or are these two different people? There are so many people who are arguing this out right now, and honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So
it should be, what does that person represent, and what are they actually saying, like publicly, and what is going to happen as a result of their inclusion on this bill, which is, he wasn't saying anything publicly. He is never saying that he supported the alt-right, and I didn't see any evidence that he had a far right-leaning audience.
No.
And in the coming days, I think a lot of it has been reactionary to seeing people upset that he's on it, and then people trolling them. But there's no way that we'll ever know the truth. And the fact of the matter is, people are saying, I'm going to wear my MAGA hat. I'm going to punch a Nazi. Like, if you're coming into ElectroniCON ready to fight, then we need to cancel the event. We've already lost the plot.
Like, you're going to miss some really good sets. Don't do that.
I have, that we're not going to allow that to happen.
So okay.
We've got a lot of really good questions.
I would like to mention that I'm looking at the Pitchfork article right now. It was not updated. So I'm not saying that statement's enough, but it is the only statement that has ever been made directly about John Mouse's response to the January 6th events. And it was broadcast right here on Hot Takes.
I can't wait to
subscribe,
see you again, buddy.
Follow for so much more
great.
revelations and information only on Hot Takes. John Mouse's statement about his position on the January 6th events right here. I'm fucking around right now, but no, yeah. Anyway, back to the thing.
For his sake, he'll take a stronger stance and make a stronger argument. But we see that article on, what was it, the tablet that says, well, it's a big ass article, but basically saying like Ariel said that they aren't talking anymore. Like, Ariel was supposed to run sound on that event. Like Ariel was supposed to run sound on the substance event that he was put on, and they said that he couldn't come and run sound because it would trigger people too much. They invited John Mouse, but they drew the line at Ariel Pink.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people do. But so Ariel says, whatever they're paying you, I'll pay you the same thing, and say fuck those guys. And John Mouse chose to play the event instead of taking that money, and I guess that offended him that Ariel would say that, and Ariel says that they haven't spoken since. And then in addition to that, like, where the Vice article where he's talking about white supremacists being a reprehensible blood cult, I don't know, man, like
yeah.
It was really, I guess it was easy for me to see what I wanted to see, and maybe hard to accept the truth. Like, maybe the truth is what the worst. Maybe the truth is the worst. But who knows? It's not my job to know. It was just my job to try to have a good party, and I did a really bad job of that. I fucked up. So
All right. Well, what's the next question?
Yeah, we got a couple good ones I really want to get in before the top of the hour. Real quick, somebody wanted to ask if it's okay for you to talk about it. They want to know how Lindsay's holding up amid all of this, if she could relay any of her thoughts on the topic.
Well, Lindsay's out to dinner. Lindsay's out to dinner with her family right now. I'm doing this instead. But Lindsay is not doing great. Ultimately, she feels like it was her idea. Book John Mouse, and she's also a fan, and so she feels guilty. She feels sort of upset with the way everyone has responded and the way that so many people who were Team 100% Electronica just immediately flipped and started thinking that we were quote-unquote Nazis. Immediately, despite all we've done. So Lindsay's very hurt. But we're hurt in a couple of different ways. Like we feel bad about this. We feel there's a little bit of it's still kind of too soon for us to not feel a little bit of personal it was kind of a little unfair for people to not give us a weekend. But we'll be fine mentally. But right now it's just a difficult time. I mean, her family's here. This has kind of ruined her trip with her family, which she only gets to see once a year other than Christmas. And I feel really bad too. ElectroniCON's Lindsay didn't want to make an ElectroniCON. It's a lot of work with almost nothing to gain.
A lot of people gain from it. A lot of people gain from it. Most people gain. I know what you mean.
Other people gain from it.
Other people gain from it, and
we gain. We gain. We sell T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah,
but it's I would say there's just that the amount of time that if we put the amount of time that we put into ElectroniCON into something else, the amount, it's going to be easier for me to do a whole 6-week tour than to do one ElectroniCON.
Wow.
So that's kind of, especially now, the tour is going to be easy compared to this.
I remember walking around the ElectroniCON and with my partner at the time, and she's just like, "Is George is in charge of all of this?" I'm like, "Yeah, somehow."
Right.
Yeah, and George is in charge of all this. I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right? What the hell? It's crazy."
Well, the venue's really great. There are tons of people working at the venue, and the venue helps a lot. If we were doing it at our own warehouse space, it would be impossible. So the venue, they have experience doing shows every day. They have the security involved. They have the they know how to get an artist off stage and an artist on stage and make it sound good and keep things going and make sure that there's the only thing that the venue fucked up on is when I said that there needed to be 3 trucks, they said 2 will be enough, and it turned out that we needed 4. So
right.
The venue does a great job, and it's mostly the politics of it that are so draining. It's because you want to put everybody on, and you could see it. I mean, just take a look at Twitter and see what people are saying, that they'll never be invited back to ElectroniCON again. Because I feel like a lot of people have taken this moment to sort of shit on us, like they've been wanting to shit on us, and they took the moment while we're down, and That's just never been the case. Like ElectroniCON, we can't book the same people every single year, you know, and just because, or maybe, and a lot of people want to be on ElectroniCON, but like I've never heard them, and also no one has never heard them. So it's just kind of like, hey, get on my radar, you know, do some good music, and it's there for you. Like we have artists completely unknown outside of the vapor sphere that we're going to be giving a huge stage to in front of thousands of people. Like there's really no limit to it. It's like there is not a find me a festival that's more egalitarian than this one. It doesn't exist.
I gotta get Fiber's question in real quick, and then you guys can decide what you want to do. Fiber says, as a label owner, you are probably now no stranger to messing up and dealing with the fallout of a mistake you're responsible for. Personally, when I've experienced this, it has brought me to a "what am I doing" sort of mentality. Has this experience made you reflect on the roots of Clanton and 100p and how to come back to a less chaotic place? How has this experience shaped your moves for the future?
Well, that remains to be seen. I would say I've sort of already redesigned. It's kind of happening in real time right now. We're sort of in the brackish waters of two different eras of 100% electronica. If you pay really close attention, you can kind of see the way that we're shifting. Currently, we're shifting towards a more niche, supporting a greater volume of smaller artists and integrating the extreme small pressings, extreme appearance, ElectroniCON showcase into sort of a what will surely be called the 100% electronica pipeline in the future on Twitter once people start realizing what's going on. But, you know, I don't think that anything is going to change about that. But I think it's given me pause insofar as, is ElectroniCON worth it? And I think that it's worth it until we have something better, until someone comes up with something better. But I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can do it forever because of this. You don't want. The other thing about it is the label doesn't really, like, I look at my money at the end of the year, and if I was in a coma, I would earn more money just from my Spotify streaming and my own personal record sales. I ultimately, trying to run this label, it's just like sort of like loses me money. And, you know, ElectroniCON, I make money from it. I didn't make money year one, and in year two, I made about as much. I didn't make money from the first two, and in the year two, I made money equivalent to the George Clanton New York solo show. And we don't know how it's going to play out this year yet, but it's just like so much easier to just go to New York and play a show. And I'm always felt like I was doing ElectroniCON for the vaporwave community, but not the silent majority, but the loud minority of people who have something negative to input into ElectroniCON seem to kind of control the narrative, and you almost believe that it's going to suck until you get there. Yeah. And I felt like so negative last year that the people who were at ElectroniCON were like hated me or something, and
Wow.
like what I was doing.
Yeah, they don't.
Didn't get that vibe at all.
I got that vibe a little
sucks.
bit. I got that vibe for a minute when you were on stage.
Damn,
being like,
really?
people are saying George Clan isn't vaporwave. I'm in vaporwave.
Oh, wait, yeah, I do remember that.
I remember him saying that, and I was like, George's taking this too personal. But I did like the fact that George took my line about calling it Vaporwave Summer Camp and announced it over the speakers. I was very pleased about that. I was like, that's nice. I loved it.
But it was true. It had a summer camp.
It was, yeah,
Well, better than summer camp. Summer camp kind of sucked for me. It's like what summer camp looks like in the movies.
Yeah, but I got that vibe for a second. But then I looked at the audience and I'm like, nah, look how much people love this thing. It's good. It's
It
great.
was so good, I had to get away from the front because I was getting crushed, and I'm too old and small for that shit.
Yeah, no, it was really good. That was like the best day of the year. You know, we had a great time in the audience. I got to see Frost Children. You know, I got to see Frost Children front and center, pretty much undisturbed, like from start to finish. Like I just got to watch that whole set, and it was outside. Outside at Knockdown Center is the best vibe, and it was just so much fun being there, knowing that the event had started and knowing that like anything's going to go wrong. That's the vibe at ElectroniCON. It's like every day from announcing it, every day from way before announcing it, every day from planning it to when it comes, you're on edge. And then when it starts, you go, it's like a rocket launch. It's like, well, we can't do anything else. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off.
Right.
Now we just have to go. There's nothing we can do. The machine is on.
Yeah.
And it's like this huge sense of relief comes over you. And then watching every performance be awesome, it just really was a euphoric experience. Obviously I can't drink or do drugs, which I wouldn't do anyways. But like, you know, I'm working the whole time, but like I'm having this like really great euphoric experience in it. It was really beautiful, and I said, this was amazing. We have to do it. We'll do it again next year. But you know, people really come for you, and it's like I feel like I think that there's a certain number of people who feel as though if you don't play ElectroniCON, or playing ElectroniCON is like their goal. And you know, I've seen a lot of people say, we need to have our fuck ElectroniCON, like fuck this guy, we need to have our own thing and we'll have a real vaporwave party. And I'm liking every one of those tweets. It's like,
yeah.
Why did it take this? Why does spite have to fuel your desire to create something beautiful?
Why does it have to be spite to create something beautiful? It's ridiculous. Also, George, I'd just like to say that, you know, you're just you're not trying hard enough if you can't do this on drugs. That's the problem.
Unreal.
I'm just saying that the after party DJ section of the first ElectroniCON in New York with like Lindsay and James and Ryan, everybody DJing, and me, like I organized that whole thing, and I was on several tabs of acid, and it was no problem.
Jesus.
You're built different.
I don't know how you do it. As soon as I found out I was playing the after party at Econ 2, I was like, the middle of the, what was it, Televape set, and I was like, oh my god, I need to sober up fast.
Anyway,
do we want to? There's a few questions left, but I'm thinking we save them for the Vaporwave News Network.
Yeah, sure.
That's okay. That's okay.
How do you feel about that? You all right with that?
I mean, yeah, I can't see them. If they're like hard questions that you're afraid to ask me, I would say go ahead. But if you think that, you know, we don't want to, I mean, I don't know. How long have we been doing this?
We've been at it for about 2 hours and 10 minutes.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you feel like wrapping up anytime soon?
I'm happy to wrap whenever you feel like the end of the episode.
How's everybody feeling?
I mean, I'm fine. I mean, I guess we should wrap up eventually, but let's get to some more questions. You know, I mean, honestly, like, you know, let's just do it. Let's just get it all done now.
Why don't we go for another 20 minutes? Is that all right with all parties involved?
Yeah.
What?
That's great.
We do another 20 minutes maybe?
Okay.
Cool. Let's do that. Let's see. Somebody asked, can bad people make good art?
Yes.
Next.
And it's your decision to
Yep.
sponsor it or not. But I mean, I think that's clear. Just look at Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That movie slaps.
One person asked what happened to your remix of Patience, etc.
Oh well, that's a difficult question. You know, like that song, I guess was sort of a freebie, tied to the label, and that artist wanted to go a different way,
I got you.
and it was just like I didn't really want to be a part of that story, I guess, anymore. If it was going to play out like that, but you know, I think that that's great, and people should have the freedom to do that. And I think that there's room on Earth for everyone to be successful. And I think that's that's a really good vaporwave mantra. There is enough room on Earth for everyone to be successful. It's not like I mean, it won't happen. It's not everybody is good. But if you're good, you don't have to step on other people to have success. In fact, it doesn't mean anything. It's destroying someone in vaporwave isn't going to make you more liked or better. Like if you dethrone George Clanton, there's not another George Clanton. That just means ElectroniCON is gone. Like this is a web. Like I'm George Clanton. People look at me because I mean I have a career outside of vaporwave. So they look at that and they see those numbers and it's like this guy is at the top, but not really. I'm at the top of George Clanton fandom. Or amongst George Clanton fans, I'm the biggest George Clanton there is. But like for other people, there's so many people who don't give a shit about George Clanton, and you know, I think that they're just like, you know, 100% Electronica has a different position because I transcended into the mainstream, and also because we do kind of interesting stuff like take risks on big events like ElectroniCON. Not take risk in the John Mouse sense is a bad timing on that phrase, but what I mean is take risk in insofar as doing it at all the first time and then finding out if it was a good idea or not. And it is. And I think if more people took risks, there's plenty of room. There's room for 10 or 11 Vapor Kings, not just one. But to answer more of that question, I think, you know, I wish her well. It's just kind of like part of not doing contracts and being like really indie and you know, like just everything on a handshake. It's like if somebody doesn't want to be a part of your story anymore, you don't have to be a part of theirs. So I think it's an amicable, just I don't want people to hear that song, and I don't know. I guess it's just as simple as that.
Thank you. One viewer wanted to know if you'll be playing St. Louis on tour this year.
Not this year, but we tried to make St. Louis work actually really hard this year. But for one reason or another, my agent said it just didn't make sense to do it on this route. I think we had there's some like sort of big fest in Boise that we were going to be able to get everyone on, and they agreed to put everyone on, and then we like switched the route out to this, and then we definitely hit some interesting places like Lawrence, Kansas and stuff around
I've been
that
to Lawrence.
time.
Yeah.
But there's a whole slew of cities that my goal in life right now is to hit every, not, I guess not every city, but like every city that people play, the smaller cities, and I'm going to hit them all. So
Yeah.
this is probably the only tour for, because it's at the end of the year. But then again, there will be another big tour for more. I'm hitting all the major markets on this tour, I think, but hitting more of the like middle tier markets at the beginning of next year is the current plan. So a lot of people who live too far away, but they live near a kind of a mid-sized city, looking forward to coming and seeing you. I know that Florida didn't work on this route. Florida is the hardest state, because it's not on the way to anywhere. You have to go all the way to the bottom. You have to go all the way to the bottom and come all the way back up top. And as a result, a lot of artists don't go very often. And then as a result of that, the infrastructure to have shows isn't always great, insofar as you get there and people are just kind of like not very professional on the venue side all the time. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of self-resonance chamber of Florida, like being a little bit more difficult than everywhere else, but definitely going to do it sort of on the next tour, because I've had some great shows in Florida.
Very cool.
Cool.
People asked if you'll ever do a Mirror Kisses set.
I was sort of pushing for a Mirror Kisses set at ElectroniCON this year, but
fuck, I would love that.
We thought that was kind of the Peanut Gallery thought that was kind of a stupid idea, but maybe like I did I did kind of do something like that for Halloween, where I played a lot of Mirror Kisses content at the Lodge Room. I did a double header this past Halloween at the Lodge Room, where I played like 2 sets of completely unique music, and I tried to I played multiple songs from every album.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. The first set I dressed up as an angel, played for an hour, and then then they made everyone leave, and then we came back and did the set all over again. I was dressed as a devil, and I played for another hour. No repeats. Just
damn, must have been exhausting.
A completely new set. It was exhausting because I had just been in a car for 24 hours without stopping right before that.
Jesus.
I
don't know how you guys do the tour life.
So we played Austin, and then we drove directly to Los Angeles, and then got to sleep for like 3 hours, and then went and set up at the venue and did Esprit, DDS, George Clanton, Esprit, DDS, Neggy, Jimmy, George Clanton, and then again Esprit, DDS, Neggy, Jimmy, George Clanton. So I played 4 sets.
Holy shit. God damn, dog.
And that was a hell of a lot easier than this.
A lot of good questions in chat about specific. A lot of people asking, I guess, like, what, if I could sum it all up, how do you decide who's going to be your headliner? We've got names like Pad Chennington, Bladee. Like, how do you decide that?
What do you mean? That Pad Chennington would be a headliner?
Well, those are some names that were brought up in chat. Like, how do you decide?
How do you decide who the headliner is?
Who's going to be a headliner? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think I did touch on this process a little bit. You think about who has a large audience that fits within your budget. So the first thing that you do is you go, how much we need somebody basically who can get 1,500 people in there on their own. So how much money can we devote to someone who can get 1,500 people in there on their own? And then we set that aside, and we look at the artists that are earning that. And then sort of start thinking about, well, who's the best fit? Who has a relationship with vaporwave? Who has a relationship with us? There are people who have a relationship with us, like, that are very cool artists who we try year after year at say, oh, we almost could do it, but we can't do it this year. We're doing this instead. And it's just like, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, that we're friends with, and it makes you wonder. It's kind of like, yeah, they could do it, and they're our friends, but like, there are managers involved also that, like,
Yeah, very good point.
management doesn't think. You can look at this festival and the way that it's been branded by us, and at least initially, as a vaporwave festival. And I think I was talking about this, but I think it was off camera, where I was saying I've tried my hardest to not, due to the flack that I got last year, to not call it a vaporwave festival, because it's like, if you don't call it a vaporwave festival, it's like they have abandoned vaporwave, and if you do call it a vaporwave festival, they say they're appropriating vaporwave. Well, let me tell you, everyone, like, people keep citing this thing where it's like George Clanton just uses vaporwave as a marketing tactic. Everyone who makes vaporwave already knows who I am. Everyone. It's like, vaporwave is the fucking shitty. Vaporwave would be the absolute shittiest marketing tactic for me to use. Like, you can't just take one quote that I made 7 years ago, when I've made, you know, 200% electronica, virtua.zip, and all of that shit, let alone, you know, the music, you know, what I've done with the big stream and the label. Like, it comes from a place of understanding of the art form and interest in it. I'm an interested vaporwave. I'm interested in what it is and what it means, and maybe I have different viewpoints of what it is and what it means, but I also have been thinking about it for a lot longer than probably anyone who's still interested in it. Very few people, Dr. Chris, are you know, have been interested in it this long.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an interesting.
I can vouch. You've been here since the very beginning.
I have an interesting perspective on it, and it might not be the same as everybody else, but you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. You don't have to listen to anything that I'm saying. But at the same time, like, anyways, I decided this year, and in our press release, nobody posted our fucking press release. We only got press for the scandal. Only this fucking scandal. Nobody wants to talk about any of the
I'm
other
surprised at how little press
Yeah.
that the festival gets all the time. Like, very little press.
We do this all on our own, and there's no promo, there's nothing. Everything that we do, it's just all on our own. There's no corporation, there's no big plan. It's like, so it's a lot of risk. I don't want to tell you how much money you have to commit to the artists on a 26-person bill.
God.
In order to some who are making a lot more than others, because they have the responsibility of filling up the room. But, like, it's a big risk. It's a big risk to take. It's a risk that's so big it could wipe a person out. So I think I definitely got off tangent right there. So we, you know,
you're good.
The question is, how do you decide? So I would say, with the utmost respect to Pad Chennington, and I have tried and successfully succeeded in getting Pad Chennington involved. In some ways, have tried to get Pad Chennington involved, and then there was conflicts of scheduling with, like, some of the other parties around, and Pad's really doing his own thing. But with the utmost respect to Pad Chennington, by this metric, Pad Chennington is not a headlining artist that sort of transcends and gets 1,500 people to come from all over the country to see him.
Let me tell you,
And
you know who? TV Girl. Who got them now? They get bigger and bigger every year.
TV Girl
They're
is
at
like
the third one, yeah.
the 230th biggest band in the world according to Spotify.
Oh wow.
Everybody loves. I mean, I can't tell you how many of the Gen Z kids love TV Girl. They all love it, and I tell them that, like, oh yeah, my friend George, good friends with them. He's like, what? Insane.
Were you at that Philadelphia show?
It was. So
All
he
those
played?
years ago?
Of course
like
I was.
50
Absolutely.
to like
yeah.
15,
It's like nobody.
to 50
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
TV
course I was.
Girl,
Yeah.
TV Girl and
I was
George
there.
Clanton played in Philadelphia to like 15 people one
Yeah.
time.
Unreal.
So
Me,
we
and
go.
if you remember, Tristan was there too.
Yeah, I do remember Tristan.
And
Wow, that's a name
he's
I
in the
haven't heard
chat
in a
right
long
now, I think, actually, somewhere.
No
time. Hi,
way.
Tristan.
I saw his name up there. Yeah.
Well,
So shout out Tristan.
the story with TV Girl is
There he is.
TV Girl, because I'm such good friends with them, and because they don't need the money, TV Girl agreed to do ElectroniCON as an absolute and total favor.
Wow.
That's very cool.
That's very cool.
But they're very cool. TV Girl is also the most punk band in the world. No label. Just now the one of the biggest fucking bands in the world. They get
Yeah, it's
5,000
crazy.
people to come to their shit, and they've
Crazy how
never
popular they are.
they've never had a publicist. They've never had a publicist. They've
Insane.
never had a record label. They just do their own thing, and like really just like laugh at everything off. As I'm pulling my hair out doing shit, Brad of TV Girl, he's just like smoking vape and be like, I don't know, and just like
Fucking nuts, man. I can't believe
it's
they
so
did that.
crazy. Well, the music
Because I do remember that show in Philadelphia. It's like 15 people.
I
but
remember
they did it as a favor. But they
something
played
similar.
Brooklyn Steel that weekend, like right before ElectroniCon. So when they sold out Brooklyn Steel, that was their moneymaker. So they were already in
Wow.
New York.
Oh, okay.
So-
I understand now.
So when they played that show, now they have the opportunity to come to ElectroniCon, and it doesn't upset their agent because they already made their money for New York,
Yeah.
and it
Nice.
doesn't burn their, like I was saying earlier, burn a New York play because they just did it. So they did that as a favor. It didn't really help us like sell tickets because we couldn't announce them until the very end, but it was great to have my friends there, and so yeah, TV Girl would be a good one. If I had to pay for them, I couldn't afford them. TV Girl makes in excess of the entire ElectroniCON budget easily.
Wow.
They have no label, really?
No label.
Fucking A, man. Wow.
Unreal. That's badass.
Unreal.
Adam fulfills their records sometimes.
Oh, really?
Unbelievable.
God.
They just get their friend. They buy they get pallets of records delivered to the singer's garage, and then Adam goes over there and packs records with like their homies. Like they
Jesus
invite their friends who don't have
Fucking
anything.
kidding me? It's like one of the
Damn, that's
biggest bands.
DIY as fuck.
They are so beloved by so many people I know.
Well, that's
And I'm
what
like-
that's what we do. If only I was just the 230th biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly. Yeah. All right. Wow. All right.
Well, guys, I
you
think
get-
I think it's probably a good time to go ahead and wrap up. What do you
Can
guys
you
think?
get Bloodbath 64 to play?
I would, but they're going to be on tour anyways.
Oh, damn.
TV Girl's going to be on tour, yeah.
Because I figured maybe.
Bloodbath
Yeah,
64.
I want that to happen. That's the because we're such good friends. The singer of TV Girl also decided to make a vaporwave side project, and then that
Yeah.
was Bloodbath 64.
George, how would you like to finish up tonight? Anything
I
you
don't
wanna-
know. I'm not reading the chat, so I don't know.
No, it's actually all extremely mostly it's all positive, dude.
It has
I
been
don't know.
overwhelmingly positive.
It's been overwhelmingly positive, just so you know.
Well, that's really shocking. Maybe the people who need to hear this aren't
They're probably not
watching.
even watching.
I think a lot of people just really, unfortunately, like, I fucked up. There's no. I'm not denying that I fucked up, but I think a lot of the hysteria and the demand for immediacy in the response that sort of turned it into a witch hunt of artists on the bill. Hysteria has a lot to do with people who just like think that fucking us up is going to help bolster their position. I can't tell you how many people use this, like, okay, so if we're really sincerely upset about something, you know, and that this is really a sincere threat to our lives, and we're afraid and stuff, people are using this as an opportunistic thing to promote their label and promote their event. And like, people are saying, I would never do this. I just wanted everybody to know that my label has never done anything fascist. And it's like, okay, good. I mean, I don't think that mine has either. You know, and I think that I see a lot of those accounts, those kinds of accounts, were really, I would say, accelerating the vitriolic language and coming after us in a way that a lot of people who don't know anything about John Mouse or even anything about 100% Electronica, you know, they're hearing it for the first time from these people who had sort of negative intentions. And we know that those people will never, you know, they're not going to be held accountable. And they've got, I guess, maybe nothing to lose. But it's like, I think that we need to be, it's easy for me to say because I'm victimizing myself right now and being a little crybaby. But I'm trying not to. I just, you know, make me a bad guy. Because at the very least, in this narrative, like, I deserve it. I did something irresponsible without you can look at this and say, I should have been able to see this coming. And I didn't. I failed to see. Because I guess because I was such a fan, I got excited. And everyone around me that I was able to talk to, maybe they had, you know, I'm talking to his agent, and his agent is telling me all these, the way that, you know, John isn't this or that, and his shows are going really well. The way that that is played out, like, maybe they had, maybe it was a conflict of interest, and I shouldn't have been listening to those people. Maybe, so I fucked up. But the way that there are people out there using this as an opportunistic thing to make it about them, and in turn start attacking and picking off artists one by one and attacking the label and bringing everything that we've ever done into question. I mean, I think we've got a pretty excellent track record, and you know, people are even talking about just me because I'm white, you know, like, that it makes sense that this would happen. And you know, I don't think that that's fair. That's definitely a little extreme, because I like to think of myself as a friend to everybody, and even, you know, a friend to people, and I am literally in real life friend to people who believe things that I completely stand against, because I just don't think that shutting people out and not having a friendship is like a good way to solve anything. I'm definitely I'm definitely saying a bunch of mush-mouth nonsense right now, but like, you know, you don't win people over from attacking them. And I think that I value and respect the people who had very real concerns, and, you know, were able to bring those to our attention. But I mean, there's people right now just in my Instagram, it has like 1,200 comments, and it's just people saying, you're a fucking bigot. You're a fucking, Nazi. Like just going back and forth. You're, I don't want to say what they're saying. I'm afraid, but they're saying, you're this, you're that. Like, I hate that I'm in the center of that and that I've caused that, because that could have been avoided and it shouldn't have happened. So, I don't know, guys. My head is swimming. I don't even feel like I'm answering a question. I feel like I'm like...
You're good.
I feel like I'm like, I don't know. George Bush supercuts.
Guys, thank you so much
You're good.
for tuning in and for asking George those questions. George, thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate you peeling a layer back and bearing your soul. It was good to talk to you.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk at length. I mean, obviously you can't fit all of these thoughts into, 2.5 hours worth of thoughts into a slide on an Instagram post. And, I know that a lot of people, like, I don't know how this is going to play out. I mean, a lot of people, whatever. Yeah. I'm sure that I'll be answering questions kind of for the rest of my career in regards to this, at least to some extent.
Those of y'all, be sure to tune in to Vaporwave News Network. Pacific Plaza, I believe, will be broadcasting Friday. If you want to correct me in chat, I will correct that information. But if you don't mind, buddy, post that link one more time so people can submit their questions and continue the conversation with Vaporwave News Network. If you're a fan of Vaporwave and Vapor-adjacent music, follow 100% Electronica, follow George Clanton, Asprey Fantasy, Mirror Kisses. Thanks for the link, Lux. Buy tickets to ElectroniCON. It's the first 2-day festival. Hella cool people. Everyone from Enrail, Data Girl.
Think about that.
Yeah, Luxury Elite. Somebody link the tickets. Thank you. No hard release date, Pacific Plaza says, but the question form has been posted and pinned. Thank you, guys. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to all the first-time viewers. Thank you to all the new subscribers and donors. Thank you for the long-term viewers. And thank you guys for being a force of positivity. Life is incredibly complex and full of nuance. It's there's no roadmap, like you said. We are going to one more time just let you guys know, if you want to follow us on socials, you can follow this link tree right here. If you enjoyed the show, we've got 50 other episodes that we did with everyone from 18 Karat Affair to Data Girl, Luxury Elite, Groovy Kaiju. A lot of great people have been on this show. Check them out. See what you think. We're going to have
FM
Ming.
Skeezy.
FM Skyline. Lots of
Yep.
100p fam. Equip was on here. We've had Tech Honors. We've had Keith Rankin on here. Great people. Tune in sometime. Every other Monday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Twitch.tv/Hot Takes Vapor. We got a public community Discord server. Jump in. We'd love to have you guys. We got a Spotify. A lot of our guests have done custom playlists you can check out. Good, fun stuff. And last but not least, if you feel so led, if you want to donate to the show, all donations go towards equipment upgrades, commissioned artwork, and just the costs associated with running a podcast and putting it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, that sort of thing. We're going to run our ad one more time, but we love you guys. We love you, George.
Yeah,
And thank you so much for being here, everybody. We'll see you on
I
Monday.
love you too. Wait a second.
What?
Wait,
We're,
Yeah, we're not
we're
there.
still live,
What's up?
bud. I haven't.
We're live.
I have something to say.
Okay.
I've got a big stream Thursday, so that's the day after tomorrow,
Yeah.
That's true.
and we're going to do it. And we're from now until ElectroniCON, we're highlighting as many of the artists that you might not be familiar with on it. So this week we have Full Body 2, and
Nice.
I'd like to invite anyone who I am inviting anyone and everyone. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but anyone who is like I hear that Lux is in the chat, so I know that everyone already knows who Lux is. But if there's any room for an a big stream performance in front of a green screen, we'd love to do that.
Nice.
But obviously, we can't fit. We have so many people and not enough weeks. But whoever we can get on the show, we want to showcase them. So this week, we will be showcasing Full Body 2 and seeing what they're all about. We have a live performance from them, and also the new
Sick.
George Clanton. We're going to be premiering the new George Clanton song and
Awesome.
premiering the new DDS mini album. So it's going to be we're going to dig
week.
ourselves out of this trench, and yeah, it should be
Could be amazing.
It was going to be the most amazing big stream, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and get ready for it.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be a great,
yeah.
great broadcast. That's 5 Pacific, right?
Yes,
5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, on YouTube, I believe.
that's right.
Yeah, very cool. All right.
Right.
Well, that's a wrap, guys. Thanks again. We love you all, and we'll see you Monday at 9 with Ming Curry.
Right.
You heard it on Hot Takes.
That's a
hot
take. So I have a hot take for you. My hot take? Well, I think some artists need to put a little more energy in their live set. Overly complicated tracks are things that kind of ruin a track for me.
Don't stick to any kind of genre label. Future bass is the worst music genre ever created.
Barber Beats was the original vaporwave. Fuck General MIDI Choir. It's all bad.
Bruh.
Worst album artwork I've ever seen is Green Day's Father of All Motherfuckers, probably.
I find new music often, and I usually illegally download it.
Stuff that sounds good. Sampleless vaporwave is still vaporwave, buddy.
MIDI wave is a form of vaporwave. Deal with it.
Gen Z's the future of vaporwave. I said it. What is your musical guilty pleasure, vape bearer?
It's gotta be K-pop.
If you don't like mint chocolate chip ice cream, you are a baby.
Music isn't real.
I smell weed.
I'm Dan Mason. This is Vape Eric. This is FM Skyline.
This is Mesh.
Yo, this is Groovy Kaiju. This is Christ. You're listening to
Hot Takes.
That's the one.
Don't touch my records. Ever.